Good father, bad person. That's it. That's the trope. A devoted and loving protector, usually a parental figure or romantic partner, doing horribly immoral things to protect the ones they love. You see less prestigious mediums like video games, fantasy novels, or comic books playing with this master plot often. I can understand why it's so prevalent in games. It just works really well for an interactive medium. It establishes a really simple and compelling moral dilemma if you want to give the player narrative choice, and if you don't, the experience of controlling a character as they do these morally dubious actions for another character you've hopefully grown to love creates a very memorable gameplay experience. Shadow of the Colossus and The Last of Us were the two games to really nail this approach, and many have followed suit to tell incredibly well-written stories. And others have gone on to write Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I know I've been harsh to this game in the past, but seriously, could you write a more by-the-numbers plot with more lifeless characters? Bode's twist 2/3 through the game is about the only thing the story has going for it. And it's fine. I didn't expect it, so there's that, but I could have predicted everything that happens afterwards. We discover his backstory, learn he's a sincere, hard-working father whose only priority is to protect his daughter. That leads him to crossing moral boundaries, killing innocent people, double-crossing friends. Oh, but he's doing this all for the sake of love. Isn't that interesting? Don't you feel conflicted fighting him? No, I don't. Especially when his young daughter is this freaking melancholic. Why is she so calm talking to the two people who just killed her father? Why is she able to understand that this was all for the best? She's 9. Her father was just killed, and she's taking it like her vacation to Disney World was just canceled. Wouldn't it be more interesting, not to mention more realistic, for her to be freaking out, cursing us, saying she'd always hate us for what we did? But the writers wanted to make this point that Bode's love for his daughter is evil, that he's taking it too far and let it corrupt him. And so everyone, even his own daughter, will side against him unequivocally. This is the trope at its very worst. It comes off as a flat condemnation of all fatherly affections. Oh, you can't love them too much. If you do, you might get so caught up in your love that you accidentally murder people. Again, I do think there are great stories that use this master plot. The Last of Us and Shadow of the Colossus are two of my favorite games. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 and Ghost of Tsushima are two games that employ narrative choice with this trope very well. I loved Epic the Musical, and consider the original Mistborn book to be one of Sanderson's best. These stories succeed because this trope, when done well, does get at something true and pressing about the human condition. There is a real tension between our personal affections and our social duties. Sometimes we do sin in choosing our family over our moral principles. I'm not saying we should stop writing stories about gruffy dads and overly zealous lovers. But my claim is that we're overdoing it. And that saturation is causing us to exaggerate the motif, which in turn is ruining stories. Take The Last of Us Part 2. Okay, this will probably be a controversial claim, but I think the simple plot of Part 2 could have worked. It wouldn't have been as good as the first game, but we do have plenty of stories showing that revenge quests ending in mercy can work. The problem is twofold. One, Abby is poorly written. That's a big problem, but I can't comment too much on it with this video. The second problem, though, is very relevant to what I'm saying. The way the narrative punishes Ellie and company for loving Joel is just exhaustingly cruel. If the story showed Ellie crossing a few lines, doing some regrettable things before realizing that the best way to honor Joel isn't in indulging in bloodlust, it could have worked. But in the game, Ellie only realizes this after ruining her life in every conceivable way. She willingly, meticulously, and repeatedly chooses to make herself miserable, all for the sake of a revenge mission she knows every step of the way won't honor Joel. She only turns from it the moment she's sunk everything into it. And it's all because she loved him. None of this is compelling. I don't even think it's a realistic portrayal of grief. I'm supposed to believe that seeing Joel die gave Ellie 1 year's worth of bloodlust. Did she react like that when any of these other characters died? But Neil Druckmann thought he was the first person in history to notice that sometimes sympathetic characters shoot other sympathetic characters, that some conflicts are more complex than Sith versus Jedi. And he thought the only way to convey this was to make one of the most beloved video game characters of all time suffer 20-odd hours of psychological torture, all for the sin of loving her father. It's the same mood as Jedi Survivor. Oh, you can't love Joel too much. If you do, you may catch yourself murdering half of Seattle. And this is the part of the video where I'll talk way beyond my pay grade regarding history and storytelling. I am not a scholar of literature by any means, and anyone smarter than me is more than welcome to contest this claim. But my sense is that we 21st century folk are far, far more obsessed with this master plot than anyone else in history has been. That's not to say it didn't exist in the past. You see it appear in Shakespeare's King Lear and Romeo and Juliet. In the Bible, you see a couple of foreboding stories of political rulers whose overly soft treatment of their sons ends up causing their kingdom's downfall. But for every story like that, there are two depicting fathers who murder their children with the belief that it would stave off a national famine or help them win a battle. For every King Lear in Shakespeare, there's a King Claudius. Good ruler, bad father. Have we just forgotten this opposite trope as a culture? The motif of a stern, unaffectionate father who marries off his daughter to a suitor she doesn't love just to secure a political alliance, who raises a son with ruthless strictness just so his kingdom has a good heir to look forward to. Sure, we don't have familial experiences like this anymore, but are experiences of having to choose between saving your daughter and saving the world any more common in the modern world? The truth is that devoted father figures crossing moral boundaries are just more emotionally compelling than their opposites. We watch Joel do what he does in the Salt Lake City hospital, and we automatically think, oh, sure, he's doing some wicked things, but his heart's in the right place. That's gripping. It feels less unequivocally evil than the opposite case. After all, he does love her, right? One story that fascinates me in this discussion is Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina. Okay, so Anna starts this story with a peaceful and largely satisfying marriage to one Alexei Alexandrovich. They're raising one son together, who Anna loves dearly. But this family dynamic is quickly upended the moment she meets the charming and young Vronsky. They quickly get into an affair, and the bulk of the story's drama deals with Anna weighing her duties as a married woman against her passionate love for Vronsky. So far, we have a largely straightforward display of this trope. Anna is conveyed initially as being a good lover to Vronsky, but a bad mother and wife. This is consistent with how The Last of Us Part 2 or Jedi Survivor frame their conflicts. The framing of Survivor makes it painfully clear that no matter how corrupt and backstabbing Bode is, he is a good and caring father to Kata. Almost what makes him a devoted father is the fact that he's willing to cross moral boundaries to protect her. But, as Anna Karenina goes on, we see that this is not how Tolstoy's vision of human life works. Anna can't be a good lover to Vronsky and a bad mother to her son. She can't section off her moral responsibilities like this. In the end, the moral lines she crossed go on to haunt her relationship with Vronsky so that she can't even love him well. She becomes jealous of him, constantly worried that he's going to do with her what she did with Alexei. She obsesses over keeping the passion they built their relationship on alive, identifying their relationship with it, to the point that when it inevitably withers, she doesn't just go to feeling mildly about Vronsky, she ends up hating him, feeling as passionate in her anger as she first felt in her love. Anna isn't a good lover, but a bad person. She's just a bad person. And that ultimately prevents her from loving anyone, be it Vronsky, Alexei, or her son, well. I think stories that succeed in this trope always recognize this truth to some degree or another. What makes The Last of Us Part 1's ending hit is that, ultimately, every one of us knows that Joel isn't being a good father in the end. We didn't need Part 2 to tell us that Ellie would have wanted to die to save the world. Even if it didn't have a guaranteed chance of success, do you really think she wouldn't want to try it? Joel fails not by loving Ellie too much, but by loving her too little. If he really wanted her to be happy, he would have let her make her own decision in the hospital. And I've beaten this point to death in both my Claire Obscure videos, but Alicia isn't being kind to either Verso by refusing to close the painting. Ultimately, the only person she's serving is herself. Even with that acknowledged, though, can I still ask that we stop using this trope at every opportunity? Would it hurt for a writer to acknowledge that, ordinarily, it's a good thing to fall in love and to have deep paternal affections for your children? Shouldn't we convey from time to time that those sentiments tend to make people better? Look, I feel like a child admitting this, but I love Harry Potter. I read a chapter about a magical sport played by wizards on flying broomsticks, and I'm happy. The most complex character in this series, by common opinion, is Severus Snape. And like Joel, Anna, and Ellie, he is a deeply immoral and broken character with a deep and affectionate love for another person. But that love isn't his downfall, it's his redemption. All the good he does in the story originates from it. It doesn't automatically make him a good person, but it does make him do good, a considerable amount of good at that. Could we have more stories that feature this arc? Please?